So why should you use the passive voice? Well, there are times when you don't want to say who or what did the action. Maybe you're trying to avoid responsibility for something you did, or you don't want to get your mate into trouble. Or maybe you don't know who did the action. Or because actually the object is the most important or the most interesting part of the sentence. So that's the thing that the action is happening to, not the thing that is doing the action. You can use the passive to change the focus of your sentence. So let's go back a moment. To understand the passive voice, I should really first explain the active voice, but you already know it. It looks like this. The children ate the cake. Subject, verb, object. Now, most English sentences are more complicated than this, but we'll start simply. The subject does the action to the object. The children ate the cake. Now imagine that you left for work in the morning and there was a whole cake on the kitchen table. But by the time you got home, it had completely disappeared. You don't know who ate it. I mean, you could probably guess, but you don't know. Where is this cake? The cake was eaten by somebody. So the solution is to use the passive voice because we don't know who ate the cake. Now, sometimes we're just more interested in the object of the sentence rather than the subject. English speakers frequently use the passive voice. But this lesson isn't about English speakers. It's about the passive voice. It's the most important thing. So we can change it to say the passive voice is frequently used by English speakers. Now, you'll often read passive sentences in newspapers when the journalist can't say who did something, maybe because they don't know who did it. Now, some other really common passive expressions that you already know. Be born. We don't say, my mother bore me on June 23rd, 1989. I was born on June 23rd, 1989. When your friend tells you about his new colleague, he won't say, people call him Tony. He'll say, he's called Tony, or he's named Tony. If our active sentence is, the children ate the cake, the passive sentence is, the cake was eaten by the children. The object of the active sentence becomes the subject in the passive sentence. To make the object of the active sentence become the subject, we actually need to change a few things in our sentence. So are you ready to learn how to do that? Here's our active sentence. To make a passive sentence, we need to use the passive tense. And there are 6 steps to turn an active sentence into a passive sentence. Now, you might want to take a notepad out so that you can write them down as we go. Step 1, identify the subject, the verb, and the object of the active sentence. Step 2, move the object to become the new subject of our sentence. Step 3, check the active sentence. What is the verb tense in the active sentence? This is really important because the passive voice exists across different tenses. So you must check what tense the active sentence is in to make your passive sentence correct. It's in the past simple. The children ate the cake. Good. Step 4, conjugate the verb be so that it's in the same tense as the main verb in the active sentence. We need to change our be verb to the past simple. So it becomes was or were, depending on the new subject. And our new subject is the cake. So we can choose was. The cake was. Step 5, add the past participle of the main verb after be. So looking back at the active sentence, the main verb is eat, though it's in past simple form. But can you think of the past participle of eat? Eaten, right. Now, the last step, step 6, you need to decide what to do with the subject of your active sentence, the children. In the passive voice, you don't have to include the thing that is doing the action. You can completely remove the former subject from your sentence. And that's helpful if you don't know who ate the cake, or you don't want to say who it was, or you don't care, maybe it's not important. But you can add it to the end of your sentence with the word by. The cake was eaten by the children. Let's look at some more examples together. The house was built in 1893. The car will be sold by the weekend. The washing had been left out in the rain. Many people's lives were saved. Can you see the passive form here? The be verb is always there, but it tells us the tense. It helps to describe when something happened. And it also conjugates with the subject. People's lives were saved. The house was built. And the be verb is always followed by the past participle. We can also explain who or what did the action by adding by. The house was built by her grandfather. This car will be sold by the salesman. The washing had been left out in the rain by her husband. Many people's lives were saved by the volunteers.